Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Podcast, guys. My name is Jason. I'm your host. This is actually a business podcast, and we're going to be discussing business. And I have Jose with me on stage virtually, and we would be discussing about how to be not vanilla and be more flavorful as a human being. We will get into that. Now, before I actually start with the show, I actually wanted to give a little shout out, a small shout out to a few of my friends. So I want to take a moment and not only thank myself, okay, for the hard work I have put in to make this whole show work, and to be persistent, but I want to thank some of my coaches and mentors and guides who are in the podcasting business, who helped me to give me the push and to reach this far. So I want to give shout out to LJ Haywood. I also want to give a shout out to Tiffany Werner and Girish Bali. These three individuals has really helped me to understand how this podcasting thing works. They help me to overcome a lot of my fears when it comes to public speaking. And I didn't had a voice after my second business didn't work out. I lost my voice. They helped me to regain that voice. So Spotify was kind enough to actually send out some analytics today. So, before we start the show, I wanted to quickly give people a heads up. According to Spotify, I have created more than 5,950 minutes of new content in the business category. It's actually more. I don't think this information is updated by Spotify, but nevertheless, that's still a lot of minutes of content which I created. And my podcast has been heard in over 23 countries, and the top five were North America, India, Australia, United Kingdom, and Turkey. So if you are from any of those countries, I just want to personally say thank you for the love, support, and share. The Brand Identity Design Podcast was also in the top 5% of the most shared podcasts globally on social media, and the top 30% of the most followed podcasts in the business category. So, sorry about the beep noise. It's some of my friends pinging me on LinkedIn, congratulating me. So thank you guys. I just wanted to share this. So, let's actually deep dive into this conversation. I want to start off with this quote. The quote is: diversity is about all of us and about us having to figure out how to walk through this world together. Let me just say that again. Maybe I mixed up a few words. Diversity is about all of us and about us having to figure out how to walk through this world together. And this quote was stated by Jacqueline Woodson. I really think that quote really resonates with the topic which we are having a conversation about. So today's topic is about Be Less Vanilla with Jose. And during this episode, we will speak about the importance of being uniquely you or full of flavors. By embracing your uniqueness, your strengths, your weakness, and even limitations, and accepting that you are different, and daring to stand out amidst the crowd, speaking your mind out with confidence and telling the whole world who you are and what your dreams are. So I appreciate everybody who has joined us on Clubhouse as well as on LinkedIn. So let me actually give you a heads up on who Jose is. Jose is actually an entrepreneur, a keynote speaker, and also an NLP coach. Jose is also a global TEDx speaker, international business and marketing specialist, the founder of Jose Ucar Limited. Jose, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Ucar. Okay. I'm so sorry. If I butchered your last name. So Jose has also been featured on Yahoo Finance, Yahoo News, and is one of the top 10 public speaking coaches. Some of his articles have been featured in Mentors, Thrive Global, Disrupt Magazine, and the Influencer Age. Jose has spent the last 10 years traveling across the world, successfully growing and promoting different kind of businesses by working alongside them to bring transformational change through the power of advanced communication skills. And you're going to realize what those advanced communication skills are in this show as we get into further in this conversation. Jose's goal is to give you confidence and to present the best version of yourself when communicating with others and speaking in public. Jose's motto is to learn to communicate with yourself first, which I also feel is very important. with yourself first, then with others, and finally broadcast your message. Jose's clients and partners include Procter and Gamble, Seat, CUPRA, Sabio Group, Othership, Sportworks, and the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, the NHS, and General Assembly, and many, many more. So, thank you, Jose, for being here. Lovely to have you. Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Podcast. I hope you're doing well.
Hello, Jason. Hello, amazing audience. How are you all doing? Jason, thank you so much for that incredible introduction. I'm going to be honest, I usually get some good introductions and I appreciate it, but I think you're setting a new standard today. So you're definitely being less vanilla when it comes to introducing me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to actually, get into this conversation, but, before we deep dive into how not to be so vanilla, I want to actually know a little more about you, and I want our audience to also know a bit about you. So, could you share what was it like growing up in Venezuela? Okay, and how did that shape and influence you as your journey as a speaker and coach? Not because you're from Venezuela, I'm asking you this question. I typically ask this question because your environment kind of really shapes you to become the person you become, right? So I am
Mhm.
interested in knowing a little more information. And guys, if you don't know, he's from Venezuela. He got married to a Colombian, by the way. We will get into that too. So Jose, go ahead.
Yes, I got married to a Colombian in London. So yeah, we'll talk about it in a moment. And I've got my brother in the audience today as well. So his part has been a big part of my life and the business growth we've experienced in the last few years. Look, Jason, growing up in Venezuela, I was born in Caracas, and when I was 5, we all moved to a small town by the sea where, you know what, I experienced loads of freedom. When I say freedom, it was, Venezuela back in the days in the early 90s. It was still a good country, safer than it is today. The economy was better. And I got, to go out every day, play with friends. We didn't have internet back then. Yes, I'm over 40. I'm 41 years old. We would play Nintendo and Atari and things like that, that some people may not even recognize. What is this guy talking about? But then, you know what? It was great to go out and be surrounded by nature, in front of the sea, and play every day, drink unfiltered water, get stomach ache because of that, grabbing some mangoes from the trees. That's the kind of freedom I'm referring to. And that shaped me in a way. Of course, there was bullying back then and the usual teenage, banter that sometimes doesn't help. And I felt bad as a teenager and I didn't feel attractive and I struggled and my confidence got knocked down many times. It's part of growing up. But that made me overall free to speak, free to share, free to live, which is one of the things I want to encourage people every time I speak, every time I'm coaching and training. I want to inspire people to be free in their own way, free from their limitations. And that's where that being less vanilla concept comes from. I know we're not diving into that one yet. And, when I say, why did I start speaking? How did all of that environment shape me to be a speaker? It didn't. Of course, it didn't. I mean, we didn't get speaking lessons or anything. But listen carefully. There was this teacher, very different. His name, Marco Subero. I actually finally, after many years, I got back in touch with him through Instagram. And he would storm into the classroom, stomping, making sound, shouting. Everyone would pay attention right away. Very different approach. And he said to me, Ucar, well, you didn't butcher my surname, by the way. It can be Ucar, but Ucar, he used to call us by our surnames. He said, Ucar, if you want to succeed in life, there are 2 things that you need to do. And I just went, Professor, what is it? Teacher, come on, tell me. I want to know. I was only 12 back then. 2 things. The one, you need to read the newspapers every day. Well, people, I'm sorry. I didn't take that one on board. I still don't. I listen to some news every now and then just to keep informed. But the second one was, you need to master public speaking, Ucar. You need to master public speaking. And again, it's not like after that I just started speaking worldwide and everything else. No, I didn't do it after, many years. But he planted the seed. He planted a very important seed that many years later would begin to transform my life. So that's how it all come together, if you like, that seed being planted back then. And now, actually verbalizing all of this, I realized that, yes, he was less vanilla as well. He was so different in his approach. He was one of those teachers that you still remember, and you still remember some of the things you learned as well, not just how the person made you feel. So that would be a bit of a summary, Jason, of my childhood in Venezuela. Lots of love as well from my parents, lots of friends, because we would play out, and we would just, the phone, mobile phones didn't exist. So it was usually, a quick phone call to our home, the landline, let's just meet, let's go out there, spend the rest of the afternoon playing. So lots of playing, which is something I incorporate into my speaking and my training. There is usually playing and, good fun as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Who does not love playing? And
Hey.
that the explanation of freedom was is pretty cool, Jose. I'm just saying, like, drinking dirty water, you're gonna get sick, but still having it. Okay, that's actually freedom, and I love the fact that your teacher Marcos was able to distill that two important things of success. One is reading the newspaper. I still don't watch the news or read newspaper. General information does work. I do hear a lot of business news because it's a part of my whole podcast and everything. But mastering the public speaking game, agree with you 100%. It's a skill set which every individual, okay, if you're listening to the show, guys, you should master it, because if you're able to speak and communicate things, and if you're able to help people understand your intentions and what you're trying to communicate, you have a lot of power in your hand. Okay, and when I say power, obviously not to do weird stuff, but to do good things, to serve people and help them out. At the same time, be successful, be rich, wealthy, and have a nice fruitful life. So Jose, I appreciate you giving us a little heads up on things of what was
Mm.
happening in Venezuela. Let's actually deep dive. Okay, now I know at face value when you hear the word vanilla, people have assumptions, but I've kind of broken down, my questions in a way so that people can process it. Now let's actually talk about acceptance first. Okay, I mean accepting who you truly are. Okay, let's say I accepting myself or you accepting yourself. Now the textbook definition of acceptance is valuing uh, this difference in ourselves and one another. I'm sure you will agree with me, Jose, that we are distinctive individuals, right? And we are all going through similar experiences in life, but we have our kind of filters, because we see things differently. We analyze these things around us based on our personality and the environment we have been born and brought up in. So this singular consciousness which we have, uh, is is a mysterious component, because this is what enables us to show us our individuality. So I want to actually understand from you, why is it so hard for many of us, okay, to embrace the value of being different first. Okay, the second part of this question is, could you maybe help us share some methods of as to how people can embrace their uniqueness?
Mm. You're making me think a lot, Jason, with those questions. And I'm turning this interview into reflection time as well. So acceptance. In one word, why is it so difficult? Because of fear. Okay? I'm going to say fear. And then I always like to break down fear, and I've got this acronym. Fear is just false expectations appearing real. And then fear shows up in different ways. It can be sometimes stress, anxiety. It shows up in loads of, as I said, there are different versions of fear. And that's one of the things, because, if we accept ourselves as we are, it comes with the fact that we are imperfect. And then we need to deal with that. And then we don't want to recognize that we are very, very imperfect and we have got loads to improve on. And then that requires lots of work. And sometimes we tend to be lazy and we tend to, deflect things and postpone things. And so That is one thing when it comes to accepting yourself. Look at the fear element. What is that fear? What is it doing to you? How do you know it's fear? How can you turn it into something else or use it to your advantage? A great method, which can be quite simple, really, in order to accept yourself, whatever it is, about yourself that you want to accept, or an activity that you want to carry out, whatever you're going to do, do it. Do it with fear. Do it scared. That's part of the process, because otherwise you're never going to do it. And of course, if this is something that scares you because you feel like you're going to die, then of course you're not going to be able to take action. But then here's the invitation. There is something I call the curve between value and difficulty. Okay. And this will also help you build up your confidence. So you've got the value of the challenge, of that thing that you're going to do, and you've got the level of difficulty. If it's way too difficult for you, if it scares you so much, like for instance, we're speaking about public speaking today, it scares you to death to be in front of 2,000 people, then of course you're not going to do it. You're not going to get any value from it. But then if on the other hand, you're quite comfortable speaking in front of 5 or 10, then that's definitely not going to give you any value either. So you need to find that point where you're feeling stretched about your capabilities, your abilities, who you are at that given moment in time. So it's that sweet balance that's going to give you the highest return in terms of value, because of the level of difficulty is right for you, but you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel uncomfortable, but my invitation is that you go and do it anyway. You may have heard this before, and as I always say, I don't care, okay? Because it's not about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. It's about how you feel about what you know. It's about taking consistent action and dealing with those things that are stopping you. So accepting yourself, it is always going to be challenging. We're always changing. So it's an ongoing exercise, if you like, to accept yourself. To accept others sometimes can even be more difficult, because then, as you mentioned, you got the filters. We're perceiving reality very differently. So accepting is about respect. So if you accept others, you respect them. If you accept yourself, you're respecting yourself as well. But one thing I don't like to accept, and I will never accept, is my current reality. I'm always challenging it, because I always believe it can be different. And that's what keeps my life vibrant. It's like going back to Venezuela and drinking that dirty water, feeling the butterflies in my stomach for different reasons. That's how I like to live my life. So accepting myself, evolving, accepting others, respect, and not accepting my current reality, because I want things to continue to change, and I want to achieve more, and I want to live, experience new things. And I want to carry on being less vanilla. And I'll stop in a moment. I actually posted something yesterday because I posted some reflections. And one of them was, yes, the less vanilla philosophy. I turned it into a philosophy in my life, and I asked myself the questions for different things. How can I make this post less vanilla? How can I make this presentation less vanilla? How can I be less vanilla in a podcast or in a session like this? But it can be very tiring. So it's good to find a balance as well. And I haven't found it. So I struggle, and I struggle with levels of stress and things like that. But, that's part of the game I play. I'll stop for now.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Jose. You have actually shared lots of insightful information just speaking on, you know, speaking about acceptance, being respectful. But the thing which really stood out to me is what you said, and I saw this on your presentation also. It's about what you do with the information, right? What you do with what you know. Would you mind giving a little more insight on when you came up with this idea? What does it actually mean? What did you actually feel? Why did you feel that? What to do with what you know? I just want, if you can elaborate. Maybe I'm not phrasing the question the right way, guys. I'm not perfect. Sometimes
You're very imperfect, Jason, just like all of
yeah,
us. We're
being
very
very
imperfect.
imperfect.
Imperfectly perfect, as some people say. Look, brother, during my years of coaching and before I started with all of this personal development, I would see people, and of course myself, knowing lots of things or learning lots of things, going through school, going through university, learning. But then our lives and our achievements and our dreams weren't actually growing in the same way. We weren't achieving, I'm generalizing here, of course, the things we wanted. And then when I started into coaching and I, started reflecting more often and asking myself some hard questions and dealing with my own acceptance of things and all of this, I discovered that I was where I was because of my behaviors, because of the decisions I was making, and because of the actions I was taking and I had taken so far until that moment. So I realized if I want to then make progress, I really need to start implementing some of the stuff I know. And as I go along, I will learn more because I need to, but I will implement quicker and quicker and quicker. That's one of the things I always recommend people. How can you implement the things you know quicker? And as you get feedback from failure and things like this, how can you recover from it quicker? For me, it's about quickness in this sense, not wanting to stress anybody. But life is limited, time is limited. So why are we here? That's not something I'm going to answer today because I don't know why we're here. But I do want to believe that I'm the creator of my own destiny in a way. So I just want to take quicker actions every day. And if you said to me, Jose, the presentation didn't go well, I ask you for feedback, I implement it, and you'll see me presenting tomorrow. And I will accept my limitations at that moment in time, and I will find ways to stretch myself. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I
Reco-
can speak more about it. I can bring more stuff to the mix, but I'm mindful of the time we have today, and I'm mindful, we got people in the audience that may want to ask questions later. So
Absolutely,
I'll
absolutely.
save some of that.
Yeah, life is limited, time is limited, guys. So implement feedback, and if something goes wrong, recover and try to be as quick as possible because we have limited time. I appreciate that explanation. Let's deep dive into this conversation a little more further because I want to speak about not speak, but I want to talk about appearance, how you look. Okay, and there is a lot of dilemma about how you look. Physical appearance and self-esteem, as you all would agree with me, are often closely linked to one another. Now, our perception of how we look can have a very big impact on the value we place on ourselves and how much confidence we have in our day to day life, right? If we don't like something about the way we look, it's often difficult to feel good about other aspects of our lives, and it can be difficult to feel confident when people act thoughtlessly or unkindly, by hate speech. They joke around about our looks. So my question is, it's next to impossible to have the perfect body image, right, Jose? Next to impossible. How can one be less self-conscious in such a social situation without that perfect body image and still do abundantly well?
You know what? I hadn't thought about my body image like that. I used to be very, very mindful and focused on it when I was in my early 20s. Let me look. The best thing, and that this is something I do and I recommend people to do, a very short answer: focus on others. Be curious about the other people. It's not all about you. Get off your own head. Okay, that is one thing. If you're talking about a social environment and you're talking to people and your lack of confidence is getting in the way, then focus on the other people. Get curious. Be inquisitive in the sense that you want to learn from the people that you are surrounded by. That would be a nice way to actually get off your own head. Because yes, we look in the way we look. There's not much we can do to change. We can dye our hair. We keep on getting old. We sometimes grow a belly. Sometimes it goes. Sometimes we go to the gym. Sometimes we don't. And we got that inner dialogue in there, sometimes supporting us, sometimes stopping us. But this is what I'll say. If the way you look is holding you back, this is what's happening, okay? Or this is a version of what could be happening. You carry on repeating that negativity to yourself several times a day. So what you are definitely building is a muscle, but it's a muscle that's affecting your confidence. So something you can do is look at yourself in the mirror, get curious, and look at the things you're proud of. Can you see? Be grateful for it. Can you hear? Be grateful for it. Have you got some hair left? Be grateful for it. Have you got a skin that feels the different temperatures? Be grateful for it. Have you got 2 feet? Have you got 10 toe? Even if you haven't got all of them, be grateful for the ones you've got, because we're never going to have everything we want. That is a fact. So focus on the things you also have. And I know it can be a bit contrarian to what I said before about not accepting things, but there is the balance. Not accepting everything, because then you want things to change, you want things to evolve, but at the same time being grateful in the present with what you've got. Okay, so it's those two things. So look at yourself in the mirror and start changing that dialogue, because it's all about the dialogue. You go into an environment, oh, I'm not looking very good. And of course, that is definitely impacting your presence, the energy you bring to the stage or to that encounter. So change the dialogue. This is the exercise I want you to do. You look at yourself in the mirror. Oh, goodness me, look at my eyebrows. I'm looking crazy today. Well, deal with that one. Be grateful that you've got them. Be grateful that you've got a tongue that enables you to speak. Be grateful that you can taste things. I could just carry on saying, mentioning things that you can be grateful for. And that will help you change that inner dialogue. But you know what may happen? Oh, well, yeah, that's a lot of work. And it's easier to be on the negative side of things and complaining. Well, then that's your call. Remember, you are where you are today because of how you think about things, how you feel about them, the decisions you make, and the actions you take.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the part which you said building a muscle, but it's not really helping you with your confidence.
Yeah, you're building the wrong muscle. It's like, I'm building a bicep in one arm but not on the other one. So it's just I'm gonna look odd.
Well, thank you, Jose. I think that explanation it does really make sense. Embrace who you are, be more confident, and it's not about you; it's about others. And it's okay the way you look because your body would grow over time, and it would take different shape and form as you grow old, right? So it's not really in your control. But what is in your control is your perception about yourself and how you put forward yourself in this world. Even though we are living in an image oriented society, it's okay. All right, let's actually move on further to my next question, which I have. Now, there's a lot of comparison in entrepreneurs do among themselves, right? Even in the speaking game, and podcasters also do comparison. So, according to you, Jose, why one should not compare yourself with? Why you should not compare yourself with others? What is your take on that? To
Well,
be
Jason,
not vanilla.
this is what I'm going to say. Listen carefully. Do compare yourself, okay? Do compare yourself, but in a way that serves you. This is what I would say here. Compare yourself. What do you mean, Jose? If we're all unique, yes, we can be definitely less vanilla, all of that. Yes, fantastic. But this version of comparing yourself, use it for the positive. This is a version of looking up to people, wanting to learn from others. Imagine you are in the podcasting industry, Jason. I'm sure there are people that you look up to. So, in the way you compare yourself, it can be you either compare yourself in a way, oh, look at everything these guys have achieved, and look at where I am today. Look at all they've got, and look at everything that I haven't got. Then that's not serving you. Okay. But how about you actually go and compare and say, okay, wow, look at everything that they've got. What did they do to get to that point? Right. Then it gets more interesting. Or who do they know that I should know? Or what is it that they do on a daily basis in order to build what they built? How long did it take them? You see, when we compare ourselves, and I have this conversation often with my brother and clients, we tend to look at the tip of the iceberg. You look at all the success, but we don't look at everything that's underneath. And I know there's loads of different graphics and quotes and things around the iceberg, but we still compare ourselves. We look at the tip of the iceberg. We don't look at everything that's underneath, and we just use that to our disadvantage. So if you're going to compare yourself, remember this next time. I'm comparing myself. I'm not feeling great. Well, rational intervention, I call this. Implement a rational intervention. I start changing that comparison. Start comparing yourself in a way that serves you. I already asked some of the questions that you can use in order to reframe that situation. Because when you compare yourself like this, you are looking at the person's excellence. And then you can begin to model. I don't like to copy, even if at the beginning it feels like you're copying something or someone, but then eventually it will become your own. And you have to start somewhere. So compare yourself in a way that serves you. That goes to everybody and to me as well.
That is lovely. Don't compare yourself in a way. Compare yourself in a way that it serves you.
Yes.
Awesome. I love this so much. But at some point, we we might outgrow the individual you're comparing, Jose. In that case, how would you rewire your brain to think now?
Oh, you mean that if I'm comparing myself with you and then
Yeah,
I
you
outgrow
have
you, for
already,
instance?
yeah, you have outgrown the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the meaning we're given to the whole comparison, because comparison, we could call it so many other things. We could call it, in a way, turn it into modeling, or turn it into appreciation and respect for what the person is doing. So it's not really comparing. You're just looking at all the great things that person, that human being, is doing. And once you are beyond, if you get to outgrow that person in terms of achievements and things like that, well, why don't you then lend a hand to that person, or actually just go back and say thank you, because thanks to you, I'm where I am today. You've been an inspiration, you've been a motivation, you've been, well, whatever, if that person has been a mentor. So that question, that doesn't resonate with me, because look, if I then begin to do better than one person, then I just go back and help, or
Mm.
appreciate, be
Okay.
grateful for it. Yeah, that's the kind of
Yeah.
that's how I would approach that, because then there is no competition here. That's one thing I want to highlight. The competition here is with myself. The good competition is within ourselves. And then with other people, it's just using these things to see, wow, what are they doing differently, to gain inspiration. But in the end, if tomorrow I'm 1% better than yesterday, then I'm onto something.
All right, all right, that makes sense. So, I mean, it kind of is. It's actually leading to my next question, which was how to learn to be more appreciative of others' success because it's uniquely theirs. Okay, and stumbled upon this quote: "Appreciation is a wonderful thing because it makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well." What do you think? How can we apply this in a way that we are not being negative, if you get what I'm trying to ask?
I think so. So how to be appreciative instead of envious?
Yeah.
Well, people, I mean, one of the things I've shared already is just looking at the positive side of things, looking at what the human being in front of you that you're comparing yourself with has achieved. I think you have got loads of things you can appreciate. Loads. Just get curious about that person, get curious about their excellence, get curious, going back to the tip of the iceberg, then dive deeper. What have they done? Who do they know? How do they think? What's their morning routine, their evening routine? What do they read? What do they learn on a daily basis? How do they make quicker decisions? You see, you got all of these things. As you start asking yourself these questions, you begin to fall in love with that human being, because, oh goodness me, how, all the work they put into developing themselves. This I don't think I can provide more insights when it comes to this right now.
Yeah. No
Hmm.
problem, Jose, but I appreciate this very, very much. I'm going to be starting Q&A, guys, so you're allowed to actually raise your hand up. You're welcome to come on the stage, the virtual stage, which we have on LinkedIn and Clubhouse. You're welcome to ask questions to Jose and clarify your doubts. I have one more thing which I wanted to ask you. This is actually inspired from your TED talk, which I watched. So, guys, if you look at the event, some of the comments which have been posted on this event page on LinkedIn, you should be able to see Jose's TED talk. So the question is, how can you learn from other people's excellence?
Questions, Jason, questions. And there are two ways. Okay, imagine I know you now, we've had this conversation. Okay, so I'll be, yeah, and also, we could connect after this. And in order for me to learn how you do things, I would ask you loads of questions. Simple. But then what kind of questions? I noticed, because I'm curious, before we started this, Jason was looking at my pitch, the tone of my voice, the different volumes, everything that he was going to be doing in order to have an incredible podcast, the level of detail and attention that I sometimes miss when it comes to these things. So right away, I've got an incredible opportunity to ask you loads of questions and learn from that excellence. So I begin to create my own model of what you do successfully. And once I have that model, I'll start implementing it. I'm not going to delay it. The quicker I implement it, the quicker I tend to fail and the quicker I learn. If I don't know you and I haven't got access to this knowledge that you have in first person, as in asking you questions, then I would ask myself some questions and let my imagination support me. So if I look at Simon Sinek, it just came to mind because I've been working on some leadership training recently and I was listening to his infinite leadership concept. So I would ask myself, what does Simon Sinek do every morning? How often does he practice his speeches? How many books does he read? So I actually go looking online. If I don't find online, I just begin to fill in some gaps and I add double or triple of what I already do. Example, I know I'm reading a book. I don't read full books, but I just read, the things I want to learn from each book. But imagine that I flick through maybe 4 or 5 books a month. Well, in my mind, I just think that Simon Sinek does 20 or 25 books. You see, there I've got a measure that I can start modeling and implementing. It's not going to be as accurate as having a conversation with that person, but then, I start experiencing, new things that I will stretch myself. And then I go and apply, and then I go and test and see how it works. That is a version of modeling excellence from a person that you know and from a person that you haven't got access to.
Lovely. I love this. Ask a lot of questions. And whoever your role model is or whoever you look up to, try to understand their point of view and where they might be coming from and what they are trying to do to achieve and have the success as you see today. Because, as you correctly said, Jose, we all see things from the tip of the iceberg and we don't really know what's actually gone beneath that iceberg, to that foundation, the scars, the failures the person has gone through to make it happen. Like, at face value, to give my example also, Jose, not to brag about me, but 75, this is my 75th episode podcast. If you hear the very first show which I did back in January, I had 2 to 3 minutes of dead silence after the show was recorded. Like, once the recording started. 3 minute dead silence because I was scared as shit. Okay, dead silence. And I kept it exactly the same way because I want people to reflect back and see like how consistency just helps you to progress and become better. Okay, but you need to have an open mindset and you need to be willing to put the work in to make this happen, right, Jose? I hope I'm on the right track. What do you think? Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, 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 and yes. And be grateful for those failures, because thanks to those failures, if you continue to take action, thanks to those failures, you are where you are today. So embracing each one of those moments. And Jason, I was also thinking as we were sharing this, whenever going back to the modeling and learning excellence, learning from people's excellence and implementing your own version of their excellence, look at what you like. Even if you don't know the person, nowadays you can watch lots of videos and read their books and things like that. Look at what is it that they do that you really like, and also think about the things you would like to improve on, because then that will definitely highlight elements in that person that you can start, applying to your own life, or the skills you want to learn. I watch regularly TED Talks, and then what I'm always looking for is, how do they craft their stories? How do they engage the audience? How is that story engaging me? So if I like the structure, then I just begin to implement, and then that you create that continued learning process that never stops, which is coming really from curiosity. Just wanted to add that little bit in there because there's loads we could be learning every day. not just by
Absolutely.
reading books. Mm.
I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you. This is super cool. Since I don't see many people joining the stage to ask questions, we're just gonna continue with the show. I have a few more things, guys. If you like to ask questions or contribute, all you have to do is raise your hand. It's next to your profile. If you click on your profile or your image, you should be able to get the option to raise your hand and come up. Pretty simple. I don't know if you're on desktop or mobile. You should be able to figure that option. It's pretty simple and easy. So I want to ask one more thing before we give the opportunity to Thomas to ask question. So I've read your bio and you give a very big shout out to your granddad who has been some a biggest influence in your life. I just wanted to know, Jose, that what is that he did that had such a profound effect on your upbringing and who you are as an individual today.
One word: love. Just lots of love and acceptance, understanding. But then he gave me something. Going back to modeling, I model without knowing, because that's how we learn as children as well. We just appreciate, we observe, and then we implement. That's why connecting to that child is so important. And the element that links the two is curiosity. That's why I keep on inviting people to be curious, because children are super curious. That's how they learn. So I learned from him, and I realized this later in life, how much he enjoyed having conversations with anyone, random people, anywhere, in the supermarket, on the bus, on the train, well, metro in Venezuela, neighbors. I learned that from him, how to engage in conversations, because he loved people. And that's been key for me in my life, in my achievements, in my career. And the second one, to be respectful and well spoken. So he would call me out if I swear or say things as I was growing up. So he said, speak properly, be polite, be respectful. It will get you very far. So those are some of the things, apart from the unlimited love and support. Regardless, he was there for me until he wasn't. And he's still with me in my heart. So I use my granddad. I use him. Well, yeah, I think about him before I'm about to do a good presentation, and I want to be grounded and I want to be well connected. I just bring the guy into my thinking, and there I am. Presence, it's just there, and nothing can stop me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to your granddad for being such a modest individual and to teach you all these super cool
Thank you.
stuff. Okay, shout out to him. I appreciate this very, very much. And I wanted to actually give out the opportunity to Thomas, who is actually joining us from Australia. Go ahead, Thomas. Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Podcast once again. So nice to see you. Do you have a question? Is there anything you'd like to contribute?
And thank you, Jason, and thank you, Jose. It's wonderful to speak or listen, sorry, to someone from South America. Who obviously you've had so many amazing experiences, and I didn't have a question, but the last thing you said was, about your grandfather, and I think we must be on parallel universe, because I feel the same way about my mother, who unfortunately, passed away earlier this year. But my mother had two amazing qualities. She had the ability to talk to anyone and everyone, and she did have verbal diarrhea, so I can laugh about it. Fortunately or unfortunately, my wife says that I have verbal diarrhea, but that's all right. That's why I'm not vanilla. But my mother had two qualities. One was the one I just said, which is same as your grandfather. And the second one was she was extremely respectful, and she hated swear words. And I've got one 16-year-old son, and unfortunately, he in the advent of Snapchat and Twitter and TikTok and all that, and his exposure to all those sort of things, and Instagram and all these 16-year-old girls he follows. He swears a lot, but one day I'm hoping that he'll be like his grandmother. And yeah, I really enjoyed listening to all of what you've said. I totally resonate with it. I'm a bit older than you. I'm 18 years older than you, but we're always changing. We're always kind of transforming ourselves, and I'm certainly not black and white. I think I'm 50 shades of grey. So thank you, and nice to meet you.
Thank you. 50 Shades. Thank you, Thomas, for your contribution. I appreciate this very, very much. Jose, would you like to share something before we move ahead? I have more questions for you. Since we don't have anybody else joining on stage, I don't know why people are so shy. Feel free to come up, guys. We are not going to bite. Anything you have questions for Jose. I'm not forcing you, but if you like, I would be more than happy to give shout outs to you to participate in this podcast. Just remember, this is being recorded. Go ahead, Jose.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us on stage. It is a pleasure to meet you, my friend. And on that note, people, you have got a very unique opportunity. Every time you come on a stage like this, that there is a chance that we connect at a different level. We learn something from you. It's another opportunity to stand out. It's another opportunity to be less vanilla. You can be okay down there. That's fine. If you're comfortable, great. As in comfortable, you are okay with it. But if you're experiencing a little bit of fear that we spoke about, a little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of uncertainty, that is the best opportunity for you to say, you know what, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to join these guys on stage. If that is the case, I invite you to just give it a go, deal with it, do it scared. That's the best thing you can do. If that's not the case, and you're well grounded in there and you're okay with it, that's fine. We continue with the presentation. Okay. Thomas, again, brother, thank you so much. I'll connect with you if we haven't already here on LinkedIn after this. And yeah, pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Lovely.
I'd just say, Jason, could I just
Yes,
say
yes,
one thing
absolutely.
in relation to shyness? So, and 15, I was the number one shyest kid in the class, boys' school in Australia, and every time a teacher asked me a question, I went so red that the kids used to call me. And Beatty doesn't stand for the actor Warren Beatty. It stands for beetroot. That is the color that I went because I had an extreme fear of speaking, an extreme fear of putting my hand up and answering a question, even though I wanted to. And what Jose and yourself are saying is 100% correct. And I'm not trying to force anyone of the 13 people on LinkedIn or anyone on Clubhouse to speak. But what I will say and wisdom is that you only get one chance in life, and don't do what I did. I stayed silent. Years. I life's too short. So just doesn't matter if you stumble. It doesn't matter if you have 2 minutes of silence. It doesn't matter if you have a hiccup, if you cough. It doesn't matter if the dog barks in the background, because you are you. And I'm sure anyone is someone will want to say something, and I'll shut up because I've got verbal diarrhea.
I appreciate this very, very much, Thomas. Thank you so much for your kind words. And thank you so much, Jose. I think that was an excellent pitch to invite people up. But, nevertheless, we are having a fun show. Just going to go ahead because I want to know more. I'm hungry because, as you said, you have to be very curious to reach excellence, right? So I'm curious. I want to know more from you. So tell us about some of the great resources that help you on the way. Now, on your bio, you listed NLP at Work by Sue Knight. And the quote which really stood out to you: courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen, by Winston Churchill. So I want to know more about this.
Yeah, and also courage is what confidence follows. So there's usually courage first, and then confidence grows on the back of it. Look, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, for those of you who don't know, has become a philosophy for me, a way of living. It's not just a set of tools and techniques that you use to reframe and things like this. It's just become a way of thinking, a way of being flexible in my approach to life, to the daily challenges, to challenging conversations, to difficult moments, to moments when I just, I don't want to continue because I have those days. So that's what NLP has given me, the flexibility to change my reality quicker, because then I practice it on a daily basis. As I said before, and I take this to heart, I don't learn and just live, having learned something. No, I learn and I apply. Sunite, as after I started learning NLP and applying and everything else, she was my mentor for a couple of years. I'm still in touch with Sue. She wrote an incredible book. And what I loved about Sue and her NLP approach was that, she would get us all to a lovely retreat in France for a week where actually you would rediscover yourself. So it was, as I say, well beyond just the techniques and things. It was just another way to reconnect and to connect with others. So you would leave renewed and ready to embrace changes differently. She also learned something called provocative therapy or provocative coaching from Frank Farrelly. He passed away years ago now, but then it is another way of coaching which creates instant change. It's provocative because what it's doing is provoking a healing response in the person. And then it's another angle which I really like to coaching, which instead of listening a lot to what the person is saying and letting them continue with their own patterns and their own thinking that has led them to where they are today, with provocative coaching combined with her NLP approach, what you do is just shake those patterns on the spot. So really the person is, unconsciously mainly is having some change in the way they think. So for me, tonight has been super special. I always have a mentor or a person I look up to, but yeah, she was a key moment in my life. She was key. She still is. She is, I think. Well, Sue, forgive me if you listen to this at some point. I think she's going to be turning 80, and she cycles kilometers and kilometers. She's the kind of person that will hire a big van, and drive across Europe. She spends half of her year in India, the other half in France, and sometimes travels up and down to the UK. And that's to me is freedom. That's how I want to live my life. I want to be free of my mental limitations. The body, well, the body will get old. We cannot control that, but we can definitely nurture the mind, the brain. So that is definitely something I carry with me. Linking it to NLP, linking it to provocative coaching, linking it to finding space to reconnect with ourselves and connect with other human beings.
That is super cool, Jose. I'm not really sure if the microphone is touching your clothes, but I can hear a little.
Oh, maybe. Yes, maybe. Yes. Hold on. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I have another user from Clubhouse. She's a good friend and has also been on my show. Sarah, welcome to my podcast once again. It's nice to see you. I'm from Clubhouse. Do you have a question for Jose?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm not sure
yes,
if the connection is good.
yes, yes.
Hi, Jose. How are you?
Hello. How are you? I'm good.
Yeah, I'm all right. I just have a question to ask you. When you talk about confidence, right? Um, my question is this: how much of confidence is toxic?
Mm.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Like, how much do you need confidence? What's the benchmark
Until,
like? What's the threshold?
is it Sarah?
Yes,
Yeah,
Sarah. Sarah. Yes.
yeah, I just connected on Clubhouse as well just to see your name. Look, that is a fantastic question. I like to think, well, let me speak about presence, and I'll try to answer that question speaking about presence. When we lack confidence and we go and engage with people or come to a social environment, our presence is withdrawn. We don't really connect. Our energy doesn't reach people, okay? Because we're holding it inside us. We're experiencing fear. We think we're not good enough, so that energy doesn't flow. When we are confident at a level in which we're comfortable with ourselves, comfortable in our own skin, with a clear purpose, and focusing on others, on serving, on supporting, then this is the kind of people that come to a social environment, to a networking event, or to a speaking stage, and you, in the audience, you just connect with that person right away. Because that presence is the right amount of energy to connect with you. Then when you begin to experience overconfidence, okay, this is the presence that comes, and I'm just going to try and represent this, with my fist hitting my hand. It just comes like this, bang, and it goes through you. Yeah, bang, and it goes through you. That energy is way too strong, and it goes through you, but then impacts you negatively, and you feel it. So that is the impact that overconfidence can have on others and can have on your human relationships as well. And then it can have on you. Because when we get overconfident and a bit cocky about things, we stop learning. We don't progress at the same pace because we think we know it all and we've done it. So we're missing out on the real opportunities to learn. We're missing out on the curiosity. We are just too much, as in when we are with lack of confidence, when we are overconfident, we are still too much in our own head because we're just thinking about how great we are or how much we know about that topic, how we don't need what's being shared at that moment in time. So that's why then being mindful of, being in that level of presence where you connect with people and when you are not in your own head, when you are curious about what you've got in front of you, when you're curious about the impact you're making, when you're curious about, what you're going to be learning that day, the unexpected, all of these things. So you open up to a whole new world in front of you. So lack of confidence, you're withdrawn. Overconfidence, bang, this is what you're doing to people and to human interactions. Does that answer your question, Sarah?
Oh, that is so great. That's really good. But then, how would you use the same concept with teenagers?
With teenagers, in what context? Is it school or is it at home?
Okay, so a lot of the teenagers nowadays, well, the thing is that they believe in Google more than they believe in teachers or mentors or anybody. And like you said, you also have mentors, right? But
Mm.
with teenagers, they don't even know or believe in their own parents because they're overconfident about what they know and how they learn things. So what happens is that these teenagers, they they excel, okay? They excel because they have the resources and they want to quit studying and they want to start working. And with the cryptocurrency and everything that is available today, they want to be a startup and they believe they are entrepreneurs and they believe in they believe in everything that they touch on, see, visualize, hear, whatever it is, everything but their parents and teachers. What would you say about that?
Hmm. Well, I don't think there's just going to be one answer that fits all. What I'm thinking, I haven't got children, but I have experience with, teenagers. I've delivered training, I've spoken, and yes, there is that level of I know it all. What are you going to tell me? I've got a nephew in Colombia, and every time he comes or we meet, yeah, he knows so much that he knows more than everyone else. Fair enough. There is only so much we can do. We can ask some questions. We can support them finding we can support them finding a different truth to their life. But if they're not open, they won't hear you. So they won't implement any changes because they're so stubborn about what they know. So in the end, they need to get on with their lives, fail, recover, and that's the beauty of life. So we can only support them so much. I'm generalizing here, thinking about all of those teenagers, but then I remember being similar in a way. I know it all. What are you going to tell me? I'm doing this and I moved now to the UK and I'm, working with this incredible company. And all of that, Sarah, led me to a divorce, not the Colombian, but, I got divorced, which was super traumatic for me. And it took me to losing everything that I have made in terms of money, losing my job, and all of that because of that overconfidence, thinking, I was in control of the things I couldn't control. So I think life will always put you in your place. What I think we can do is support them, ask good questions, and you know what? Acceptance is going to be key. Acceptance, that is the reality they are deciding to live, and keep on asking questions and having conversations if they want to listen to you. And if they know it all, what else can you do? I hope that helps. That's a bit of a tricky question for me because I'm thinking what kind of answers. I'm thinking about different teenagers, but in the end, life will put them in their place. And remember, you can always go, look, they may know it all, but they're lacking things. And when they know it all, they want to portray an image because they've got insecurities. And being teenagers is difficult because we're always competing against each other. And there is the banter, people making fun of each other, people bullying each other. So you can also develop some empathy and sympathy for them if that helps you in having different conversations with them. Hope that helps.
Sure, it does. It's just that I'm dealing with a lot of teenagers, and sometimes in coaching teenagers, it can be tricky. And not only teenagers, even, entrepreneurs like leaders and, because they think they know it all. But like you say,
Sarah,
Okay,
look,
my thing is, Jose, okay, hear me out, okay? My thought is that if they have access to resources and information so that they can be more equipped and be independent, what's the harm? Like, why do you see it as a problem? If that's helping and serving them, why are you interfering in between? That's just my call. That's what I felt. Let them be, like, see, imagine, like, at maybe a few generations back, things were not very accessible and you need to you were relying on traditional resources to acquire information. Now things have changed and I think it's going to continue evolving. I don't see anything wrong in it. I think it's good that, like, you don't have to spend a lot of money and you're able to reach that scale. Don't be an ass. I'll tell you that. It's okay. Maybe share with your kids. Don't be an ass. Have humility, okay, and be open and be willing. Have an open mind so that you can evolve and learn more and more. Okay, so that you can not only see things from just a digital perspective, but also have others' perspective as well. Because we all have people. We come from different experiences, and I think a mixture of everything does help. I don't know. I didn't mean to cut you back there, Jose, but that I just wanted to share.
No, brother, no, that's another, that's why these conversations are so interesting, because we all have different perceptions and come up with different answers as well. So thank you for sharing. I hope that was helpful as well for Sarah.
Hey, Jason, could I just say 30 seconds? 30 seconds worth. So, Sarah, I only have one child, but he's 16 and he thinks he knows the world. He thinks he knows more than Jose and Jason combined. And he's arrogant and he's got testosterone and he's hard work. And I'm exhausted and I wake up early. It's 5 a.m. here in Australia. But one thing, what Jose said was 100% correct, is you got to let them be to a certain extent. Like my son said to me 6 months ago, hey, Dad, I'm going to be a billionaire with cryptocurrency. And I know a little bit about cryptocurrency, and I'm a conservative person, and I don't do cryptocurrency. So wherever I see the word cryptocurrency, I run a million miles because I'm a conservative 59-year-old from Melbourne, Australia. But I let my son open an account. I just said to him, have a limit, but accept you might lose all your money. And he goes, yeah, Dad, no worries, Dad. And of course he did. But he accepted that risk, and now he's learned from that experience. So, I mean, it's just one example, but you've got to just let them be, because if you put seatbelts on them for every single thing, they get upset. I mean, my mother wouldn't let me ride a bike. I didn't have freedom like Jose had when he was allowed to eat the mangoes and drink the dirty water. I wasn't allowed to drink dirty water when I was 12, and I got given a pair of roller skates for Christmas instead of a bike, and I started crying when I was 10 years of age because my mother thought I'd get run over by a car on a bike. So anyway, look, I know that's longer than 30 seconds, but Sarah, if you've got a 16-year-old or a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old or I don't know, 2-year-old or whatever, just try to let them be, but give them an assurance that they might fail, but let them have a go, and hopefully just be the seatbelt or be the trampoline when they fall so they can bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. That is some great tip. Sarah, I hope that answers your question. We have another user from LinkedIn who have joined us. So, Sarah, do you have a follow-up question before we move on?
No, I just want to say thank you. And I don't really have kids anymore. They're all grown up, but these are for students, where parents are pulling out their hairs because they want their kids to be the way they want them. But of course, we have to give them freedom. But again, culture and so many other aspects, gets involved in this. But you're right. They just need to fall as hard as they can with a bang to get back right.
Yeah, yeah. And not hoping that they will fall. Like, let them make an attempt. Okay, give them the opportunity to be less vanilla.
Jason, they need to fall. Trust me. If they don't fall, like Jose say, they don't get the bang, they'll never learn.
On that note, I just wanted to welcome Francis to the stage. This conversation is being recorded. By you being here, you're giving explicit permission to have it uploaded as a podcast. So, Francis, welcome. Do you have a question for Jose, or is there anything you'd like to contribute to this conversation? Please unmute. Unfortunately, I don't think we are able to hear. Francis, are you there? All right. So I'm just gonna move Francis to the listening lounge. So let's actually go ahead. I just have one question for you before we start with rapid fire. And I like Sarah and you, Thomas, both of you guys to be on stage for rapid fire. Since it's like a collective thing which we do. What is that one thing, Jose, you want to be remembered for the rest of your life? If you have to leave like a legacy, what would that be?
I want to inspire people to live without limitations. That's what I want. I want people to live up to their potential and to live a life. This is, again, I'll connect it back to freedom when I started, but freedom from your mind, from your thinking. That's what I want to inspire the world to do, regardless of your cultural background, the experiences you had growing up, where you are in the world, how difficult things might be. I want people to free themselves.
Absolutely.
That
That is an incredible answer, Jose. Live your life without limitations and grow exponentially big. Awesome. That is super, super cool. Let's actually move into the next stage of our conversation.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Rapid fire questions. You can't take too much time to think, and you have to answer as quickly as you can. And there would be one common question which I would be asking everybody who is on stage. Okay, now if anybody in the audience want to come and just answer that common question, you're welcome to do so too. Okay, first question. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Alicia Silverstone. She still is.
Why? Why did you like her so much? Like, I love
Um,
JLo because she had like a nice ass. But
all right, so we're having that conversation here. Okay, I didn't know that. Look, I was, if you see my wife, she's blonde. I grew up in love with blonde women for some reason. And when I first saw her on, well, I think it was Clueless, the film, I just went wow. And then she did Batgirl, and then I went just wow. And then that's it. I got married and I forgot all about it.
she looks cool. Jose, not
Uh,
bad.
well, I haven't seen her recently. Of course, we haven't met in years. I think last time was, that Batgirl was what, 1995, 1996, something like that.
Yeah, possible. I have no idea, but I have seen this actress, and while she was young, she looked super cool, and I think she has the same facial features even today. So that's pretty
Mm.
nice. Next question, Jose. If you got to choose a new name for yourself, what would it be and why?
Don't think too much about the answer, right? I would be I would be Jose Think Fast. So I would change my surname.
Okay, Jose, think fast. I don't know. Are you sure you want to put think fast? I hope it doesn't, end
It
up,
doesn't
having
affect
some
some other
sort of.
areas of my life.
I hope you don't get any trademark issue.
Well, I'll probably, let me just give it another go. Without Jose,
Okay.
I wanted to be Batman growing up, but then that changed. So I haven't got this crush with Batgirl anymore. So what would be another one? I keep on thinking about superheroes.
That's okay.
Well,
Superheroes.
I'm not great at this game. There you go. I'm lacking confidence right now. Jason, I don't know
No
what to say.
problem.
Well, my wife called me the Rapido, which is el rápido, the fast. But I don't know. I, but I don't think it's because of that. Anyway,
All right, all right,
I
all right.
couldn't come up with a proper name.
Have
Jose
you?
Ferrari.
All right, Jose Ferrari. Okay, that sounds nice. Quite fancy. Okay, next question, Jose. Have you ever seen a ghost? And if you did, tell us what really happened.
No, I haven't. I do remember one time not living, visiting Sweden to visit my family. I lived in Sweden, back in the 90s, but I went there for holiday. And I remember experiencing some weird energies in a room at a hotel, and I couldn't sleep very well that night. I didn't see anything, but I felt a weird vibe. That's the only time I've actually struggled with, energy in that sense, that I couldn't see, but I experienced something that felt so awkward and uncomfortable. So I haven't seen anything I didn't see, but I felt.
Hmm, that's spooky, Jose. My
Mm,
advice to people, if you end up seeing a ghost, just ignore and just move the fuck away. So that's my
yeah,
advice.
don't pay
Okay.
attention. Don't talk
Don't
to
pay
them.
attention, because the more you pay attention, the more they latch on to you and they run after you. I have ridden motorcycles throughout my life. I have seen a lot of ghosts, riding along with me whenever I used to do solo trips. So don't pay attention, just move on. That's my advice. Okay. Now, what is one of the best excuses, Jose, you have heard for being late, or you probably used?
Sorry, I'm Venezuelan. That works quite well in the UK.
All right, all right. Next question, next question. And this is going to be common for everybody on stage. Okay. If you were granted three wishes, what are they going to be? And you cannot choose to have more wishes. Let's start with Jose, then we'll go to Thomas and then Sarah.
Peace of mind would be one. I want to experience peace of mind.
All right.
Money, why not money? But so that I can support others as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big money, writing it
yeah,
down. Third.
yeah, and eliminate poverty. So no poverty in the world.
All right. That sounds pretty cool. So, three wishes: having a peace of mind, big money, and eliminate poverty as much as possible from this world. Eradicate it, if
Yeah.
possible. Let's actually hear from Thomas. Thomas, what would be those three wishes?
Um,
I'm,
probably
I'm really
first
making you
one.
think, right? Early morning.
I know. I haven't had a coffee yet. It's half an hour before the coffee shop opens. I think the first one was probably inspired by Sarah's question before, in relation to children. I think if I could have a wish to inspire children to pick up education and not give it up when they think they're too dumb, and therefore they just say, well, I'm just going to be a person that collects the garbage. And I'm not saying persons that collect the garbage is a bad choice, but what I'm saying is if as what Jose said, teach them that they can reach for the stars, because there's plenty of stars out there. Second one, maybe get rid of cryptocurrency, if I could have one wish, because I think Warren Buffett, who shares the same birthday as me, 30th of August. He's a good Virgo. He's very analytical, but he once said, always invest in something you can touch or feel, or you can have some innate knowledge of. And you can't touch or feel crypto. And that's why he invests in Coca-Cola and Ford and that sort of stuff, because you can drink Coca-Cola, even though if you drink too much, you get fat like me. But so that's the second one. And the third one will have to be a funny one, because otherwise I'll fall asleep. But maybe a permanent cure to get rid of white hair, so that I don't look like Richard Gere and I look like Alice Cooper. And that's a bit of a funny one, because Alice Cooper dyes his hair. But anyway, permanent cure for grey hair, and maybe baldness too.
Those are. I don't know. Jose.
It's probably not funny, but I could get it. 5 in the morning.
My dad would love that one.
Would it? Oh, good. Why, is he bald or grey, Jose?
No, he's lost pretty much everything. He just keeps a tiny light thing. I don't know what that is, whether it's called hair, but yeah, I'm sure he could benefit from some of that.
I'm sure your dad's good on the inside, Jose.
Oh, he's beautiful in the inside. On the outside as well. It's just, he's lost his hair. Fact.
Yeah.
Lovely. I appreciate that share. Education, removing of white hair and baldness, and end the whole crypto thing. And so thank you, Thomas, for that. Let's actually hear from Sarah. Sarah, how about you? Three wishes. What would those be?
I'm still laughing at that. I'm still laughing at the baldness and the white hair.
That requires some solid creativity to come really, to think ahead. Like, imagine you have a genie and you ask the genie, I don't want gray hair. Can you make that work?
It's like asking it's just like the how all women wish they won't have any wrinkles or any, you know, stuff like that. But yeah. Okay, so going to my three wishes. The first one is hoping that my company would have enough or abundance of money to support as many people as I can. So with abundance of money, I can use that abundance to support, you know, like I don't want to say that. I want to say like less, children with disabilities. I want to use that abundance to help children with disability. It doesn't mean that they are bad or anything. It's just that it's just destiny that they are that way. And I want to support and help them. And it could be even with ADD, ADHD, it could be anything, even in mental or physical disabilities. I want to help them. first and foremost, because they get bullied so much and it just breaks my heart, you know. And the second wish I would like to have, if possible, is having, I can't ask for peace or happiness because that is by default. You know, it's like it's given or not given. It's just, it's a part of your karma. So I can't really ask that. So the second wish, it would be like to help teenagers understand life a little bit more and to help parents understand teenagers. Why? Because they are the future. I'm going to be dead and gone, but they are there. And I would love to make them mentors and leaders instead. So that's the focus of life, you know, is to make teenagers become good leaders for the future that is like it's ahead of us. The third wish that I have for is for young girls to be so confident and to rule the world the way they feel happy, because girls seem to be, you know, stuck in the moment of everybody else, and they don't have that kind of confidence. They're not empowered enough. So I want to help young girls to understand how important they are to the world, not because they're just girls, it's because they are humans. They need to learn how to love themselves too. That's about it. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. Now, before we actually move to the business side of things and, allow Jose to promote, I actually want to answer this question. Usually I escape and I don't answer this question, but this time I want to. Okay, my number one thing which I would wish, okay, just by personal experience, I've been unemployed a couple of times, laid off, lost a lot of working opportunities, did a lot of business which didn't work out, especially with friends, and many, a lot of interesting things which happened in the past 7 or 8 years. So, free education for all is going to be my number one wish, because I really struggle to educate myself, to lift myself back again, and the resources were really less, and we could not really fund my education at all. In fact, even design also is self learned. Like, I have no means or resources to learn what I have learned today, or to be at this stage today, as a brand identity designer. Um, so so I feel free education for all, is ultimatum, not just in my country, but I'm saying throughout the world. Even if you want to become an aeronautical engineer, you should be allowed to pursue it, irrespective of the amount of money it costs. If you want to actually move to another country to learn something, you should be allowed to do it. So, free education. Second, universal basic income from all. So, while you're actually educating yourself and experimenting with your ideas, a universal basic income will allow you to experiment, take some risk, and see, what works and what doesn't work. And my third one is actually a dream of my mom, is to have a foundation, a non-profit foundation, which specifically deal with orphans. And I want this non-profit to be a self-funded non-profit. So that means when you go on to this non-profit website, we would never ask you for donation. We would have a different model altogether. So that's my mom's dream, and I want to apply it. So these are my three dreams, and I want to actually move to the business side of things, Jose. So, Jose, let me give you the opportunity to promote your business. Do you have any upcoming events or promotions do you like to promote on my show?
Jason, before I do that, I'm going to say you have had time to rehearse these answers, I'm sure, because they were really, really good. Now I'm comparing myself negatively here. It's knocking down my confidence. Those answers were fantastic. Well done. And well done to your mom as well. You send her my love.
Absolutely, Jose.
Look, when it comes to promoting myself, what I do, well, first of all, I would love to connect here on LinkedIn with each one of you. So if you send me a connection request, please do so. If you want to find out more about what I do within the coaching and training world, mainly I focus on communication and public speaking. Just type Jose Ucar on Google and you'll find loads of resources and different things. On my website, joseucar.com, you can gain access to what I call my communication membership area with free resources. And if you would like to join my online course called the World Class Communicator. There is a price to it, but since we are here today, I would like to give you a 75% off deal. So if you go to my website as well, World Class Communicator online course, and you type my name all in capital, Jose, Jose, all in capital letters, you will get 75% discount on that training. And I'm sure it will be helpful. It has no age in terms, it can be good for anybody that wants to change their mindset, communicate one-to-one more effectively, and speak in public as well. So I decided to make one that covered the three topics.
That
If
is,
you need anything,
yeah,
just
that is
reach out.
super cool,
Just
Jose. I just wanted to say that that was very, very generous of you
my
to
pleasure.
offer a substantial amount of discount. Usually, people who come on stage on my show, maybe 10, 15 max. That's
Hey, it is Christmas and it's an incredible show, and it's about being less vanilla and it's about giving value as well. So check it out. And yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions, anything. I love to support people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the website, guys, is joseucar.com. If you have struggles or challenge finding it, it's actually on the event description also for this specific show. Give Jose a follow. The last thing which I wanted to actually share with people is that a lot of efforts go to produce a show, especially when you're actually doing this live. You need to have a presence of mind, a show structure, format. It takes a lot of weeks of preparation to execute something which you see flawlessly as you see today. So if you get the opportunity, if you're on LinkedIn, the least you can do by showing support is to endorse people based on their skill set. If you like what you have heard, endorse Jose on public speaking or some of the things which you see on his profile. It really helps to have a more visible social currency. It also helps us to get potential business opportunities in the long run, and even guests. For me, it could be more new interesting guests to be on my show. So give the show a follow. Okay, give some endorsements. That would really help. We don't want money, we don't want anything else, but if you like to support, my show always has a PayPal link towards the end. If you like to show support, feel free to do it. The audio, the music which you heard in the beginning, all of them does cost money. You have to pay 15, 20, $35 to acquire licensable audio which you can play on your podcast. It's a fixed expenditure. So anyways, Jose, do you have any final thoughts, any not giveaways but takeaways, or anything you like to share towards the end of our show before we wrap things up?
Absolutely, Jason. A great message, and yes, very important what you shared. It is a key that we carry on supporting each other, support Jason and this incredible show. And he does. I've been invited as a guest speaker on many, 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 many shows, and the preparation, the passion, the commitment, the organization, everything that Jason does is next level. He's definitely less vanilla here. And I would like to, yeah, no, definitely less vanilla, brother. I'm telling you, you are new standard. So people that want to learn how to run a show like this, I will send them your way. And
Absolutely, go ahead, Jose.
yes, what I would like to leave you with is take action. Very simple. One step at a time. On a daily basis, do something different. Do something that scares you a little. Do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Take action being scared. Okay, remember the value difficulty curve that I share with you. Make sure that it's giving you loads of value. You can actually do it. Take action daily. Have a vision. Yes, that vision may change, but if you take action on a daily basis, it's going to get you to places. You may still don't know what that's going to be. I've never been able to predict the future, but one thing I can guarantee you, if you take consistent action, if you're flexible in your approach, if you take ownership, you learn from your mistakes quickly, you apply, reapply, get back on the horse, you will see results. So go out and do it. Don't give me any excuses. I want to see you all taking action. It's been a pleasure being here with you today, Jason, and this incredible group of people.
Absolutely. I love what Jose said, guys. Take action. And today, you can also take another action to support me. The next week's show is going to be on December 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. GMT, 4 a.m. AEDT if you're from Australia. So next week's show is Season 3, Episode 13. That's going to be my 76th podcast episode. Advertainment. It's a new term, a new word, advertainment, and the future of content marketing. So we have a brand specialist or an expert, I would say. His name is Philip Van Dusen. I've been really following this guy for a really long time. And Philip is going to speak about how social media has been changing rapidly with the explosion of short form entertainment. So content on social media will start influencing the type of marketing and advertisement campaigns which are run by companies. So many brands, and you may have guessed, I'm just reading it out so that, you understand what we're going to speak on. Brands will now have to figure out a way to be more informative, authentic, engaging, and even motivating, and most of all, entertaining in about 60 seconds or less to sell their products and service on social media. So we're going to be having this awesome conversation. I would highly encourage you to follow me. Okay, if you go on my featured content list, you should be able to find this specific episode being highlighted under featured section. So with that note, I wanted to say thank you to all my listeners listening in wherever you are in the world. Have an awesome day, and Jose, you take care of yourself. Thank you so much for being
Thank you, brother. Take good care. Thank you.